Well, it was a very, very, very kinda anticlimactic end to the 2025 Formula One season in Abu Dhabi, and we have a new world champion, a 35th one in 71 seasons, which basically means almost half percent. So basically, on average, one champion has won two titles almost. Um, the race was interesting. Piastri overtook Norris at the start and looked set to challenge Max. Could have Max then backed up the pack. Charles was very close to Norris. Maybe was that maybe a little bit too risky? It was definitely, and eventually Leclerc backed. Tsunoda tries to uh, beat the championship leader and cost him time so that Leclerc could was like what 1.4 seconds behind, so that Leclerc could just try and close in and overtake the McLaren. He couldn't. He got a penalty for forcing him off the track and erratic driving and changing directions more than once on straight, which I think was also penalty for a few more drivers and a lot of driver penalties for track limits. Anything. Anyway, I think Sona's penalty is a little bit unjustified, and in general, it doesn't really seem that was fair. I mean, could say that he was just pushing the limits of track to the past the brink to force Norris into a mistake that could eventually hand Leclerc the place and could eventually hand Verstappen a title. Instead, Norris is world champion, and probably I would say not what I expected. I mean, yeah, of course, he was a favorite coming into the season, but not what I expected after Zandvoort, or maybe I expected a comeback, but I did not expect Piastri after Zandvoort, who was 34 points ahead of Norris and 104 ahead of Verstappen to finish up behind both by the end of the season. And Verstappen loses the title by 2 points, the closest margin in the modern point system, the closest margin since 2008. And he ends the season for the fifth time in a row with the most poles and the most wins, 8 apiece. Um, for comparison, Norris has 7 poles and 7 wins. Piastri has 6 poles and 7 wins, and the only other driver to win is Russell, and the only other driver than Russell to take pole is Leclerc in Hungary. But that's for discounting pre qualifying. That's, let's say, interesting. We have another British champion. Lando clearly, I mean, clearly his favorite, let's say. Out of the two McLarens, and you know, Piastri probably. I mean, clearly. I mean, mathematically, actually, Verstappen won a title leave. Piastri hasn't been forced to hand that place back to Norris after his botched pit stop in Monza. So yeah, that might have been a championship defining moment, as was Verstappen's clash with Antonelli in Austria, where Antonelli rammed into him, as was probably the first race where Norris just sold Verstappen to the win. But at the same time, if we can say that everything that happened, the idea is we have our champion and we have the second place driver, we have a third place driver, and Verstappen who knows? He might be going for fifth or sixth or seventh and eighth World Championship. It's not over. It's the end of an year. It's the end of the modern car setup. First part of the ground effect era cars before the big regulation change next year. And yeah, it is difficult to say who will be on top next year. But before that, let's go to the midfield where we saw Racing Bulls beat Aston Martin, beat Haas, and beat the Sauber 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th in the Constructors' Championship. Close, you know. I think Stroll was the last ever driver to overtake using a DRS, something that probably would go down in history. And after Button became the first driver to open the DRS, Antonelli becomes the last driver to open it and close the DRS. And yeah, so we have the end of an year, the end of Sauber, the years before they get not Sauber, the end of Renault for now was an engine supplier. It's gonna be an interesting year next year. Um, just before we get into that, let's just talk a bit more about this title fight. Piastri led 15 out of 24 rounds. Probably should have won the championship. Norris, though, has less since Mexico City, and he has had a annual title since after Sao Paulo, so not that unpredictable to see him win it. Probably, if it weren't for those disqualifications, he could have maybe clinched it in Qatar. The idea is that we had the free world title fight, which ended in 13 points, one of another, and 2 points the top two. And yeah, Verstappen, not that bad. Hamilton ends his season 8th and ends his first season without a podium in his career. And I mean, he got a sprint and pole win, sprint pole to win with Ferrari this season, but not the season he wanted. And he'll this year is our year. The usual Ferrari is saying that goes now because they haven't had a title in. Because Starter's title in now it will be 17 years and driver's title in 18 years. So yeah, hopefully they don't. Hopefully for their sake, they don't manage to get it to, I don't know, 20, 25 years. It will be very costly for them. Otherwise, you could say that Mercedes didn't have the best of fun races, still though Russell was way off pace in fifth, but eventually secured the between the constructors by 18 points to the so-called one-man team. Red Bull. It's gonna be interesting to see what Hatcher does. Can he maybe to get challenge Antonelli? Antonelli only finished 6 points adrift of Hamilton in the battle for six in the drivers, but still though 3 podiums. If he hasn't been for a season, still I would have had a pretty good. I think he would have gotten 1 to 2 podiums in that period of time, and yeah, he would have passed Hamilton. Maybe challenge Leclerc. I don't think so. Next year it's gonna be um very close year. It's gonna be very interesting. I am gonna say that I honestly expect Mercedes to be there. I think McLaren will try to do something good as they're the reigning constructors center of championships, driver champions. Lando Norris somehow world champion. I mean, 1.5 years ago we called him Lando no wins. Now we call him Lando one world champion, one time world champion for now, because who knows, he could end up being the 15th time world champion by the end of his career. Yeah. So I'll say Mercedes, McLaren, let's say Red Bull. There, I mean, especially Verstappen, but Hajar too. And then Aston Martin, I'll say, because why not? We would, well, probably get them going. It would be fun to see if Alonso can win his third title 20 years after his second one. Then, before we end, something to say regarding Eurovision, Junior Eurovision. There'll be a top coming out tomorrow or on Tuesday with Junior Eurovision. There'll be a video coming out next few days about this contest, about the Eurovision contest, and there's the withdrawals and the disaster that is going on. And I'm just waiting to see if Iceland will also withdraw, or no, not Iceland, Belgium will also withdraw, or like other countries will withdraw. But I honestly don't want that to happen. Otherwise, um, if fun wise, the following week I'll be doing videos on my reviewing my preseason, my mid-season predictions, my I'm doing a video on this title fight out for the Koreans, kind of history of Formula One, like a bit different with charts and everything you'll see. And history of Formula One will return after Christmas because I have a bit of break now, and and I mean I don't have a bit of break. Then I have a bit of a break then, and I have a lot of things to do. And otherwise, yeah. Just before I want, before we end, let's just pick the moment of the season. Probably Norris crossing the line and winning the championship is one of the best moments of the season, but honestly, it comes down to three. Either Verstappen's pole laps from Japan and Britain, both unexpected. I mean, he was like 4 times the drift in Q2 in but this time in Japan, and got just to prove so much. Suzuka that he got pole eventually on the race. But then again, pole position, not the race window, but still an amazing one, an expected one. And then the other moment, also from Britain, Hulkenberg finally getting a podium, and that is a magical moment for Formula One fans who have been waiting for this for so long, and he's been waiting for this for so long. And hopefully, if Audi can get a good car, then who knows? He might be up for some more. He might be up for a win next year or in the next few years. Who knows? Anyways, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, and goodbye.